What's going on, Blue Ridge family? It's been about 6 weeks, might even been more than that. I kind of lost count of it since I put up part one of my F350 daily driver truck fuel mileage. So a couple of things. It took me a little bit of time to actually get all this data together. Also, in part one of that, I'm going to include all of the information off of that video into this video right here. That way you don't have to go back and watch two parts. So as I've done this, I realized I could probably compress everything into one video, have all the information that you guys want and need in one video. So let's dive on right into this thing. First thing first, what truck am I actually doing this on? So I know there's a ton of people out there, just from the responses I've got from my last two videos, that are interested in what the fuel mileage for this truck is, this type of truck, specifically the Godzilla engine, and how it tows. So first of all, remember, I've got an in-depth with a lot of good information on it video that I will link up here. I'll also put the link for that down in the description or in the comments. Is how does this truck tow? So all that information is going to be there, but what you're here for today is the daily driver portion of this thing. And as the thumbnail says, can I really get 16.5 gallons out of this truck under a daily driver conditions? And the answer is absolutely yes, I can. I've tested this. This is no internet BS as they call it sometimes, but this is the honest to goodness truth. But there's a little bit of a catch to it that you'll need to continue watching to understand how I got that and what I did for that. So the truck that I'm actually testing is a 2022 F350. And the important parts of the information that you need to know, that this truck has got 373 gears. So a lot of the trucks that you're going to find with this engine in it, the F250 specifically, what I'm speaking of, on the lot are going to have like the 355 gears in it. That's like the standard thing that comes in those. You can option up to 430 gears or the 373, but for my intents and purposes, I've got the 373 gears. Got the Godzilla 7.3 gas engine, and some other important parts of this are what I was actually carrying around in this truck, which is, I didn't realize it till I started doing my little test, I guess, but I'm actually carrying around probably about a third of a truck of firewood. So that's additional weight that I normally wouldn't be carrying around. I'm also carrying around the hitch that I tow our fifth wheel with. So that's also some additional weight that I'm carrying around, but it's important for the sake of the test. So another important piece of information is I use this truck as my daily driver. So what are my driving habits? One, but what kind of highways, roads do I drive on to get this kind of fuel mileage? I typically do on my way to work every day is about a 33-mile trip. This is Monday through Friday, 33-mile trip. 23 miles of that is on interstate. But the important thing specifically for this test is I was very careful to limit my speed between 70 and 75 miles an hour. Now, I will say this, it is possible to get just a little bit better numbers than what I'm getting if you're willing to limit your speed to 60, 65, which I know some people do that sometimes. That's not for me. But I was very careful to never go over 75 miles an hour for the duration of this test. When I leave work, I actually drive about 21 miles back across the country, specifically on two-lane roads, nothing but two-lane roads, speed limit somewhere around 45 to 50 to my next destination every day. And from there, I drive another 19 miles back home, and half of that is on an actual, like a 4-lane state highway. The rest of it are what I would call back roads. So again, 55 miles an hour for half that. The other part of that, 50 at best. Other things are, understand I typically get a little bit better fuel mileage than the average person. I feel like just my driving habits, I don't accelerate hard when I do accelerate. And just general driving habits, I tend to get a little bit better fuel mileage than the average person. So that's also good to know. Without further ado, let's jump right on into this thing. All right, so you've probably seen this spreadsheet if you watched my first video. If not, this is the spreadsheet that I used in order to calculate all the numbers that you're going to see. And the reason I'm showing it to you is not to bore you to death, but transparency is a big deal with me, and I want everybody to be able to go back and look at this and understand exactly how I got these numbers. And if you have any questions, by all means, please make a comment below and ask a question, or it's anything at all. I'm here to be transparent, and as stated before in these videos, I'm here to try to educate people with my experience as much as I can. What I'm calling fuel constants, as stated earlier, 87 only, which that is the 87 with up to 10% ethanol only, the same 87 with eco mode, the same 87 with octane boost, and then this I got 87 octane to pure 100% gasoline. Then there was 93 octane, which of course could contain up to 10% ethanol. Then that same 93 octane with eco mode. So I show miles driven for each one of those instances, and I didn't necessarily run an entire tank of gas out for all of this, but I did get, if you look, at least 170 miles with this 87 only for a baseline. How many gallons did it take to fill it? Of course, that's going to give you your hand, if you make that, do that math, that's going to give you your hand calculated miles per gallon, which is this column. This is what the truck said, and I thought this was interesting right here, as you'll see here in a minute, the delta miles per gallon, or the difference in the hand calculation versus what the truck says, the lie-o-meter, as they are so affectionately called throughout the YouTube world. This is just the difference in that. We are assuming 34 gallons to fill up, and I got that number not because it took me 34 gallons to fill up every single time, but rather that is the size of the tank on my truck. So hypothetically speaking, this is how many miles you could get out of a tank of fuel at one of these, well, not one of these, truck, really this one right here. So 34 gallons times this is how I got this distance per tank number. And I come up with an easy way to look at this. There was actually someone that commented on one of my earlier videos about the, when I did the one about towing miles per gallon, that they calculated in cost per mile. And it made a lot of sense to me, and it's a lot easier number to look at and see. So I've got cost per mile here. Now, the thing to remember with this is gas prices, at least where I'm at, are going up a little bit, but this cost per mile is based off of a $3 per gallon of 87 octane, the ethanol octane, as I call it. So at the time that I started all this testing or whatever, this is how much gas cost at the gas station that I got almost all of my gas at. So $3 a gallon for regular 87. If you got the 100% gasoline, it was about $4 a gallon. That's why you're going to see a big discrepancy. Not a discrepancy, but a difference over here, because it's relative to this $3 per gallon, and 93 octane was $3.70 per gallon. So remember, this is how much fuel was when we started doing the test. These two are relative to this right here. So 87 is $3 a gallon, then these two should be about that. It may not be that big of a difference where you live at, but for me, it was. That's what I've got to go with. So anyways, like I said, distance per tank calculated off the hand miles per gallon, and that's how I got this cost per mile. You can see up here, that's where I got the actual numbers from. And then a cost efficiency, and this is just a formula I used just for me, just to make it the easiest to see and to understand what I was looking at. So the best cost efficiency, or the cheapest cost per mile that I got, was this 87 with eco mode, which you'll see I've got some nicer graphs. It's a little easier to see all this stuff. We're going to call that 100%. So that's the best we got right there. And all these other numbers are based on, are relative to that. So in other words, 87 only is going to be 93% of that. So forth and so on down through here. So spoiler alert, 87 with eco mode is the cheapest way to drive this truck, period. So let's get into the PowerPoint, and I will show you. There we go. Technical difficulty. I had to go back and get my spreadsheet set up a little different where I could look at this the right way. So speaking of miles per gallon, if you'll look, 87 only with eco mode, with octane boost, with 100% gas, with 93 octane, and with 93 octane in eco mode. You can see this top number is what the truck miles per gallon, if you'll see right here.
The yellow column, hand calculated miles per gallon, which is what we're going to go off of because we don't trust what the truck says. And this is the difference in miles per gallon. So if you'll look right here with this 87 100% gas, wasn't quite 16. I think I said 16 and a half miles a gallon at some point back there. But I did get actually just over 16 miles per gallon with 100% ethanol free 87 octane. Now, keep in mind also that this was not with eco mode. I didn't run it in eco mode. I could have run it in eco mode, but just to be quite frank with you, I used a bunch of gas getting all this data together, and it took me a long time to do it. So just to be quite frank, I was a little bit over it and ready to get this video put out here because I was kind of excited about sharing everything with you. So anyways, an opportunity to get a little better fuel mileage right here if you so choose to run 100% gas, or if you can actually find that stuff cheaper than I did. It was $1 a gallon more where I live at. So 87 with eco mode, which is the cheapest way to operate this truck, 14.26 miles per gallon consistently. You could get octane boost and get a little bit better fuel mileage with it. However, because the octane boost that I chose just randomly picked something, and it was like, I think $14 by the time I put taxes and everything with that. So that's what kind of got this cost per mile number up here higher. If you can find octane boost cheaper, that might be a viable route to operate this truck cheaper. Speaking of that, what does it cost to operate the truck? I've got a graph here just stating up here $3 for 87 octane, that's 10% ethanol octane, $4 for no ethanol 87 octane, and $3.70 for 93 octane. That's just so we're clear on how much we're paying for this fuel. And again, it's all relative to the $3 a gallon. 87 up here, it goes up and down based on that. 87 with eco mode, that is the cheapest way to operate this truck at 21 cents per mile. Next cheapest is going to be just 87 octane. After that, we get into 93 with 93 octane with eco mode, or 87 with octane boost, which this is I found this interesting that I guess you could assume that octane boost, whether you're paying for it at the pump in 93 octane or whether you're putting a can of it in there, you get the same results. I found that interesting. And also, if you look over here, the difference in what the truck says fuel mileage versus what the hand calculated for both of those is actually the eco, I'm sorry, it was 1.16, so 2.38 here, 2.38 cents per mile to run, as long as you're putting some sort of higher octane in the truck. What I was going to point out over here is that the lyometer versus hand calculated, if you're running in eco mode here, whether it's 87 or 93, is 9.94.94. I thought that was interesting, consistent if nothing else. And then finally down here, the cost efficiency versus 10% ethanol, 87 octane with eco mode. So our best, or most, we're calling 100% efficient, the best we can get is this 87 with eco mode running, 87 again with 10% ethanol. That's what we're calling 100%. So you can look at the graph here at what percentage of efficiency, or that's a cost efficiency, are we running with all of these other fuel grades or additives or eco mode, what have you, versus the 87 with eco mode on. So all of them are fairly close. And again, this 87 100% gas, I find it not ironic, but that is where I got the best fuel economy overall, but it's the absolute worst in terms of cost efficiency to operate the truck. So if somebody can find 100% gas cheaper, 25% or 25 cents a gallon cheaper, maybe 50 cents a gallon cheaper, that's the way to go, which that should surprise no one that that's the most efficient way to operate the truck. I'll leave this up here for just another second or two just to let everybody kind of look at it and go back in the video, check it out and see, question anything that doesn't look right. I'm all about questions, like to answer questions, like to teach or help people understand at least my perspective, my point of view and what I'm doing. All right, so there you have it. The numbers by the spreadsheet. 87 with eco mode is the most efficient way as far as how I did the test and from my perspective, which I think is correct obviously, or I wouldn't be sharing that with you all.
is the cheapest way to operate the Godzilla. I would be interested for some of you all out in the Midwest, up at higher elevations, that the lower graded fuel is actually 85. So I would be interested to see what kind of real fuel mileage, if you have any comparable information. So if you're watching this video, leave a comment down there. I would really like to know, how that works. With 85 octane, does it matter to higher elevations? I know typically trucks don't get as good a fuel mileage at higher elevations, and just for information purposes, I'm somewhere around about 1,000 feet above sea level where I live, so not high. Also, one other key note is when you do run the truck in eco mode, you do get a little bit better shifting out of the transmission. I've brought it up in the last video. I don't have issues necessarily with my truck shifting. From time to time, fifth gear, it'll kind of have a bit of a hitch to it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't shift hard, but I know some people complain about the transmissions in these trucks, the 10-speed's kind of shifting hard. Running eco mode actually makes the transmission shift just a little bit softer. So that's kind of a bonus, I guess, if you will. So hopefully this information is able to help you. If those of you out there that don't have one of these trucks, that are looking to buy one, my goal is to kind of help you, not to sell you on this truck. Remember, nobody's paying me to do this. So I wish they was, but that'd be cool. But they're not. So just to give you some information, maybe you've had other experiences with other heavy-duty gas-burning engines, and this will help you make that decision. So for you, that's really what the goal of this video is. Also, just FYI for anybody that is watching and is a subscriber, thank you all so much. We're over 1,500 subscribers right now, and I am less than 800 hours away from actually being monetized on YouTube. So I never thought I would be this close, but here we are. Put a lot of work into it. So thank you all for the support. I truly appreciate that. So continue helping to support the channel. So like, subscribe, and share these videos. We need to get to 4,000 watch hours in 365 days, which I'm absolutely confident we're going to do with your guys' support. So that's it. Till next time, I'm out.